Okay, we're going to get started for this last session of the day. So welcome everyone. This session is, just to make sure you're in the right room, for those who have joined, from global data and partnership to regional action, GeoHuman Planet and the regional GEOs. Although, as you'll see, the emphasis is not only on GeoHuman Planet. So just to give you an idea of the general objective, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Mark Dowell. I'm from the European Commission's Joint Research Centre. The primary objective is this session is really to start to explore how GEO work programme initiatives with a specific emphasis on GeoHuman Planet, and I'll come back to that in a moment, can be used almost as enablers to effectively be operationalized through the regional GEOs in enhancing service delivery, strengthening cross-regional collaboration, and increasing impact at national and regional levels. And we're going to look at this from a couple of points of view: how the GEO work programme initiatives are currently being utilized across regions, as I said, with some emphasis on GeoHuman Planet, but not only, and how can GEO initiatives and others better support cross-regional harmonization and interoperability. And then finally, what mechanisms are needed to move from awareness to sustained operational use of GEO services. As I said, there's some emphasis on GeoHuman Planet, because at the moment that initiative is specifically looking and thinking about what are the next steps it needs to make in moving to a flagship initiative, and in doing so, better engaging with the regional GEOs. The session is split broadly into three segments, or a first one which has two parts, let's say, and then another one. We'll have an introduction from my colleague Michele Melchiori from the Joint Research Centre, who is also the GeoHuman Planet co-chair. And then we will have some talks, short talks, 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes from each of the regional GEOs, providing their different perspectives. And then we will have a panel discussion again with different regional representation and work programme representation. So I think with that, I'll pass straight away to Michele, who will give us an introduction and provide kind of the global GeoHuman Planet perspective. Over to you, Michele.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for being here and to hear about the GeoHuman Planet. I think we can control the slides from here, but I'm clicking. In any case, the Human Planet is an initiative in the GEO work program. It was born roughly 10 years ago with the recognition that global population was topping 7 to 8 billions, and that a significant amount of Earth observation programs were making their data available openly and freely for the first time. So we were at the beginning of a new season for exploitation of Earth observation programs at scale, and for producing thematic information on cities and settlements. Now the slides are moving. Okay, so in this phase, we had our first manifesto of Global Human Settlement Working Group that was basically coming to produce a new generation of open and free data on human settlements, supporting what were then becoming the Sustainable Development Goals and the post-2015 international agendas. So when this group was convened for the first time, those global policy frameworks were not there. So there was an intention to produce relevant data for those, but we didn't know yet what the scope of those agreements were. So moving forward several years from then, we see that the Sendai framework, the SDG, the New Urban Agenda, and the Paris Agreement included specific goals that could be monitored or at least measured through Earth observation with a focus on cities and settlements. Also in parallel, the Copernicus Emergency Management Service had included data coming from the human planet, and in particular the global human settlement layer in the different components of the Copernicus Emergency Management Service, both in the mapping and early warning part. In the post-2025 work program of GEO, the human planet is inserted in the focus area of climate, energy, and urbanization, and a variety of topics are addressed there. Not only settlement delineation and population, but also characteristics of human settlements, Earth intelligence, that means translating baseline data into value-added products, and policy support. In this phase of the work program, we see a variety of engagements, which is mainly the characterization of settlements. So in the first phase of Human Planet, the broad task was to map human settlements. This was largely achieved not only through the work of the GRC, but also with activities in WordPop, DLR. So many products were coming, just mapping human presence on the planet. Now the task is to characterize them, for example, to understand the vulnerability characteristics, have specific thematic products, and translate those information into policy relevant insights across thematic domains. So mainly the shift from mapping to understanding. The GEO Human Planet is organized with 5 co-chairs, not only the European Commission, but China with CBAS, South Africa with SANSA, the United States with the Columbia University, and UN with the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. The deliverables of Human Planet include an operational production of the global human settlement layer as a Copernicus Emergency Management Service with productions every 2 years, but also new products on vulnerability together with ImageCat, so also contributing and collaborating with the private sector, and with CBAS on nighttime light for really understanding the characteristics of human settlements. And the last mile is achieved by supporting international reporting on human settlements. Here, a few examples on the world urbanization prospects, the synthesis report on SDG 11 by the custodian agency UN Habitat, and a series of thematic reports ranging from the Global Assessment Report on Disaster Risk Reduction by UNDRR, the cities report by UN Habitat, and the GEO Environmental Outlook by UNEP. In terms of progress, significant collaboration between the GRC and CBAS for the production of a composite using nighttime light from SDG Sat1 and the Global Human Settlement Layer. So here we see that in Human Planet, we not only come together to discuss about trajectories of urbanization, but we pool our resources together to produce new things that each of the partners could not do alone. And in the spirit of the open data policy, those data sets are available through the GRC data catalog for free and open download. Another example is the operational production of Copernicus Global Human Settlement Layer with a release in 2025, so November last year, depicting the year 2022, with updates coming every 2 years from now on. So in terms of operations, this is covered. When we come to partnership, we had several events last year. Significant ones, the Human Planet Forum that we had at the Joint Research Center with over 100 scientists coming together to discuss a variety of topics on mapping human settlements, understanding how people live, understanding disaster risk, and many more. Also engagement at the GEOs Symposium last year in Rome with the participation of the World Bank, African Union, and DGRTD with the DDG Joanna Drake. And then also regional activities across AfriGeo with a training together with SANSA and EUMETSAT on relations with early warning and human settlements. This year already the statistics for Earth observation for statistics at ESA, really to show that Earth observation are becoming more mature and statistical production is at reach. In the last slide of my presentation, I'm concluding saying that in 2027, we will have our next Human Planet Forum. We are really working to pool resources and stakeholders together for an increased engagement across regional GEOs. So we will have also panelists now and presenters discussing how human planet topics are discussed across regions, but also to support the evolution of a human planet in a flagship of GEO. With this, I concluded all my points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michele. And yes, I think that introduction of Global Human Planet really showed the both the kind of the development activities, but importantly, I think the sustained operational production activities that, for example, are now happening through Copernicus, and as well as these last mile applications and contacts with the various UN agencies and treaties. So definitely a very strong initiative in the GEO work program. So now we're going to move on to this series of 4 talks, really providing the overview from different regional GEOs. We have all of the regional GEOs represented. As I said, they won't necessarily only focus on the global human planet aspects, but I'm sure that will come up. And I think I'd suggest I introduce them all now at the beginning, and then we can move through them one by one. So we have representing the Eurogeo perspective, Evangelos Gerazopoulos, who is the GEO Greek focal point. He's vice president of the National Observatory in Athens and director of the Institute for Environmental Research and Sustainable Development. We have Naledzedani Mudau, co-chair of the AfriGeo Health Initiative and GEO Human Planet Data and Product Service Manager, who is from SANSA. We have Xiaozong Li, who is co-lead of the GEO LDN Working Group for Capacity Development and professor at the International Research Center for Big Data and SDGs in China. And finally, we have Riccardo Quiroga from the Istituto Geografico Agustin Codazzi, who is here representing AmeriGeo and GEO Colombia. I should mention that at the end of these talks, we will then move on to the panel. So then let's start with the first speaker, and that is Evangelos. By the way, the order here is in no priority, so we didn't choose to put the Europeans first. It's in order that we have the slides, so it's much more practical. So we'll start with Evangelos, who will start us off. I think you have the clicker, Evangelos. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. So I'll try to cover it from the perspective of a member state, from the Eurogeo, from the European continent, and see how we have been trying to exploit data like those residing from the GeoHuman planet and combine it with other sources of information to deliver something which is linked with the policy and the frames that will come top down from Europe. Can we make sure that this works, please? Thank you. Next, please. So, given that, as Michele said, the GHP lies within the climate, energy, and urbanization focus, I have selected 3 domains around these aspects. One, air quality and health. The second one is sustainable cities, and the third one is urban SDG framing. And I just picked up some of the projects that we are running at the national level or at the institutional level to show the use of the different types of information around those topics. Next, please. So we start with air quality and the health, and just to let you know about the EU policy landscape, more or less around the nexus of air quality, climate action, and public health. You can see that we are dealing with the clean air and health protection with the new directives around this, the climate action with health co-benefits with the European Green Deal starting in the middle of this, pollution prevention and systemic resilience, zero pollution action plan, EU climate adaptation strategy, very important element, and also integrated health and environmental governance, which is more linked to the EU One Health framework. So these are more or less the frames under which we are trying to comply and give out the information and service which can be of usefulness at the national level. Next, please. So I selected some projects, as I said. For example, here we have a tool called Urbem, where actually we are exploiting information coming from Copernicus services and other sources of information, Corinne, EPTR, about emissions, etc., where we are using the global human settlement layer in order, as a proxy actually, to understand details about missions that are linked with anthropogenic activities and behavior. So actually this information, it's part of a little bit more complex methodology, and at the end of the day, we are providing information about emissions. Here you can see PM 2.5, for example, emissions in the area of Athens. Then, next please, around air quality and health, it's not just emissions, but it's also exposure to health. And in this aspect, the most relevant SDG indicator is 11.6.2. So actually, combining the previous information with PM 2.5 concentrations and the residential population grid, you are able to calculate the exposure of humans to particulate matter and disaggregate it or aggregate it at the relevant Lau or NATS levels to deliver some ready for policy making or intervention information to where it needs to go. Next, please. The second topic we selected is about sustainable cities. Here, as I said also before, the European Green Deal stands in the middle, but also we have the new climate law, the adaptation strategy, and other directives coming. But also we have some tangible initiatives taking place at the European level, as for example, the mission on climate neutral and smart cities, the mission on adaptation to climate change, but also the covenant of mayors for climate and energy. So in order to address things around mitigation and adaptation at the national level, and next please, we again exploit a number of products coming from initiatives like GHP, and here coming from the Eiffel projects, we isolated a little bit more the part on the buildings efficiency. So actually in this example of the integration of open and free earth observation within situ, but also microstatistics coming from census data is one of the unique aspects of the project. In order to represent the building stock energy consumption and the emissions coming from the buildings. You see again here, GHSL build-up volume and build-up surface used as proxies for different elements like the building floor area, etc., or the differentiation, the discrimination between residential and commercial buildings, etc. And really the information that's coming out of this, it's very unique. I saw it here at the municipality level, but actually this is produced at the building block level, so you understand that the linkages with electricity providers and all this energy trading that is taking place is very relevant information for them to have. And the interesting thing is that this was a mission, European mission project, but the municipalities are really interested and engaged in this. So actually we managed to replicate the same example, next please, in 2 more cities in Greece, more or less again the same, and it was enriched with more information coming from the open building attribute data. So I don't want to stick more, but you can see the resolution of the data and the information that you receive out of it. Next, please. So the last theme is urban SDG framing. Here, actually, the EU landscape is around the green, the digital twin transition, for which for us is translated to climate intelligence, to territorial justice and digital transition. We have the UNGGIM Euro processes to follow. So how we apply that? Next, please. That was a national flagship project, which, for example, we took two of those indicators, 11.3.1 on land use efficiency and 11.7.1 on public open space for all. And again, a combination of different products coming from GHS combined with other information really give us the capacity to deliver information on the SDG indicator, not at the national level, but a very disaggregated level, which really enhances the capacity, the capability of the country to take interventions and decisions around this. Next, please. Our users in this aspect are the Greek regions and ministries, urban planners, civil society, and really the comparability, the scalability, and the policy oriented of these products is very important information. And our final slide is about the gaps that we see. First of all, I have to comment that the products are already policy relevant, which is very important. And the regional GEOs can really make them operational, which means that they can be validated in relation with other information at the local level, documented and plugged into national decision system to wherever this is possible. But we recognize also gaps that needs to be closed. For example, and it's very well said in other occasions, interoperability. So we have GHSL, we have Copernicus, we have statistics and socioeconomic data. This is relevant to the discussion we had also in the morning during the opening or the town hall, don't remember, cadastral data, etc. So it's not just a resolution and coordinate systems, but we need centrally to think on how we can really deliver interoperable data combining all these multidisciplinary aspects that we discussed. Enrichment with socioeconomic data, more socioeconomic indicators and proxies in the population, a grid coming from the national, the local level information. This is very important if we want to really touch upon these human aspects that we talked also in the morning. More technical, downscaling of the GURBA and becoming compliant with the rest of the layers like the population grid. More layers. I think there was already one of the products at the low level, so more layers we would like to see complying with the official reporting geographies. And then two more aspects, behavioral aspects and well-being aspects. I just put some examples there. For example, human activity proxies for emissions disaggregation, like the heating type, like the mobility and transportation diurnal profiles to enable us dynamic exposure assessment, or in the well-being, distance from green-blue infrastructure, connectivity, fragmentation indicators. That would be interesting for us to have. Even if it is not the GHS or it's another authority, we should somehow centrally see what information and what data can be combined so that we can make easier the work of the rest. And finally, enable further urban planning applications and read the open building attribution with uses, for example, not just residential, not residential, but public, not public, building, industrial, commercial, offices, similarly information for the type of the roofs, shadowing and winding effects for ventilation assessments, road types in linear formatted with. So actually, this is the experience of what we are getting from end users. They need this kind of information. We don't have ready, and this brings a lot of burden and delays in our work. So that would be very interesting to concentrate our efforts.
Thank you very much, Evangelos. I suspect you've taken already fully embraced Earth intelligence, I can tell from all of that. Thanks a lot. So I'll pass over now straight away to Naledzani, as I said, from SANSA, who will give us the perspective from AfriGeo.
Good afternoon, everyone. May I please have? Okay, so I'll be sharing some of the work that we are doing to support the implementation of development agenda in Africa. So I hope I'll be able to. Okay. Apologies, my slides are rushing and then going very slow. Okay, thank you very much. As you may be aware, Africa is faced with a number of interconnected challenges, including poverty, unemployment rates, high unemployment rates, inadequate infrastructure, and also it's also exposed to climate-related risks such as heat stress and flooding. And in response to this, many African countries have prioritized implementing initiatives that will support economic growth, infrastructure, or improve access to infrastructure or infrastructure development. They are also focusing on initiatives that are looking at building climate resilient communities, improving governance, amongst other priorities. I don't need to convince you that Earth observation can support these priorities by providing timely and spatially explicit information that enable evidence-based planning and decision-making. GEO plays a key role in strengthening coordination, collaboration, and capacity through its member countries and also participating organizations and the working groups that exist. So I'll be presenting some of the initiatives that we are doing under the Health and Urban Development Working Group that can benefit and also contribute to the GEO Human Planet initiative. Of course, we know that it is important to know where people live in order to implement any development agenda or solution. And traditional methods such as waiting for conducting or waiting for census or even ground surveys are not enough to give us the information that we require. So we depend highly on satellite imagery-derived products to help us understand where people live. So in the region, we're focusing more on understanding, first, of course, where human settlement activities are. This is talking to where people live. And of course, understanding the different types in the region in terms of whether it's the settlements that we are seeing are formal or informal, whether the structures that we are seeing are used to support economic development and so forth. We are also, of course, focusing a lot on informal settlement mapping and also understanding the different densities. So through this information, of course, integrating it with other spatial and non-spatial information, we can then derive a lot of insights that our governments can then use to support decisions that will talk to where services are required, be it health services, amongst others. It also then helps them in terms of developing those solutions that are supposed to promote economic development. It helps them also to understand, to a certain extent, the quality of life in terms of living conditions from the different human settlements type that we are able to derive. And of course, integrating other data sources, we are also able to analyze the environmental conditions of the different human settlements that can then help with the insights that is required to build resilient communities. One of the important aspects that is of a great need is also to understand the exposure to disasters, including the emerging ones, including such as the heat stress and also the flooding that we are experiencing. So what we are seeing on the slide is a demonstration of the importance of understanding human settlement dynamics across the different regions, even across the different cities in the same country. So what we are seeing there is a map showing urban or human settlement growth between 2016 and 2025. It might not be as clear as it is for me, but you can see that different cities are growing at different rates, where if you're looking on the map, red represents the growth between 2016 and 2015. So you can see that different cities are growing at different rates. And also, I've also included a picture of some villages around South Africa, just to also demonstrate that there are also rural areas that are also developing at bigger rates compared to other cities. So what is important, of course, is for us to be able to communicate the data that is available, the insights that can be derived to the right stakeholders. So the information needs to be packaged to respond to the needs of our governments. So at AfriGeo, we are working, of course, with the national departments who are able to derive the information that is required by the countries, but most importantly, package it in a format that makes sense and in a format that is also that can allow decision makers to be able to extract the information that they need and use it accordingly. So I focused on the human settlement. So one of the other initiatives that we are looking at is more on health, which is also aligned with what the Human Planet initiative is focusing on. So in addition to all the disasters that we are dealing with, we are, of course, required to also act now with the disasters that we didn't prepare for. These are the climate-induced disasters, including extreme heat. So what we are doing, we are working with member countries to derive the products that can help decision-making, or that can help countries to understand the exposure to heat stress and also to air pollution. So we can see from the maps, the first ones where we are highlighting the population that is at risk, older population that is at risk of extreme heat. So this information is important, of course, as cities are and countries are working into developing those solutions that can help reduce the burden on the communities. And understanding where the vulnerable communities is can then help government in terms of identifying those areas where they need to intervene, be it looking at building of green infrastructures, or maybe even supporting by developing the cooling facilities. Of course, this information needs to be integrated with other local data from the hospitals, also access to services and so forth. And we are working with the local stakeholders from the medical services to understand how they record some of the incidents that may be induced by, for example, the heat stress. Currently, of course, the challenge is that that information is not always available. But as we create more awareness, we're hoping that we'll be able to get to a point where we can collaborate and provide the information to the health services as well, and including those who are responsible for weather services, so that they can start integrating this information in their WOLI systems. So the other map on my bottom left is also showing heat vulnerability, but more in a rural spaces. A lot of focus is made on the on understanding vulnerability at a city level. However, if we look at the region in like Africa, we already have rural communities vulnerable to disasters and other social ills because of lack of access to infrastructure. So with the climate-related issues, it adds burden on them. So we are also focusing not just on the cities, but also other settlements that may be exposed. In other areas, of course, in partnership with other organizations, we're focusing on other health disasters like malaria, cholera, and those that may be induced by water pollution. So, of course, in terms of communication, what has been the challenge when engaging the stakeholders are interested in knowing how many people would be affected by whatever phenomena that one is presenting. So information on population and also high resolution data on human settlements, it becomes critical when communicating with the stakeholders so that they're able to understand exactly how they can use the information to support decision making. Also, just one, yes. Also, what is required by decision makers, mostly government and other interested stakeholders, is early warning systems that they can integrate with their own systems so that they can improve preparedness. So this slide is meant to show that we do take advantage of the partnerships with the member state to ensure that we take the information to the countries or the departments who require the information through the annual symposium and also partnership with other GEO communities. And our members also contribute at a national level to support the government on a number of initiatives. So these are the priorities going forward, of course, is to ensure that we collaborate and communicate with the decision makers, increase our visibility, and share knowledge and experiences. And of course, take advantage of existing initiatives or products that we can help adapt locally and fast-track delivery of services. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Naledzani. So we're now going to move on. And by the way, we're not rude in that we're not applauding for the speakers. We'll give them all a big applause at the end. So now I'll pass to Yaozong Li, who will give us the perspective from AO's GEO.
Okay, thanks, the chairman, and good afternoon. So I'm very pleased to share from the Asia-Oceania the perspective about this very important topic. The content, I think, firstly, I will address the challenges in the Asia-Oceania regions. It's well known that this region has 2/3 of the world's populations and seriously influenced by the climate change, the pollution, the biodiversity loss, and the pollution, many kind of the problems. To address these challenges, the Asian and the Oceanian countries urgently need to strengthen the international cooperation in Earth observation. This is how the AO, the GEO, form in the past since 2015. In the past decades, I think it's a very good platform for these regions, the cooperation on the Earth observation. And for the challenges now, we think that for these regions, the priorities should be the regional application and the services in accordance with the regional sustainable issues. This is very important, such as the coast and island monitoring, the Himalaya, the geodesics. And also the initiative will also implement the data sharing, the Asia-Oceania Data Cube, and other engagement and communication as the foundation, the task for the AOGO's the activities. And in the second part, I think I would share the case studies about how we use the Earth observation to resolve the regional issues. And the first one, I think, is the strong alignment between the AOGO's strategic framework and the GHP's mandate. I think this is very important. And for the detail, I won't give too detail about this alignment. I will go directly to the case studies. I think so I confirm this is the final versions. So in fact, I think we have the pilot the studies. So one is the land use efficiency the monitoring in the one batch and one rows the regions. I think we use the SDG Sat1 the satellite, and combined with the satellite information to monitor the dynamic of the urban development in these regions. I think this is very important case studies. Another one I think very important is we use the SDG, the Sat1 combined with the global settlement, the human settlement layer to carry out the in-depth analysis. The main advantage I think is with the SDG Sat1, the data set, we have the high resolution, the thermal infrared, the sensors, which could provide when we calibrate for the anomalies and carry out some of the pre-processing techniques, finally we could get a very good basis layer to carry out the urban-related analysis. So this is the two case studies. And for the remaining gaps, I think despite the strong alignment, we think several gaps remain. The first one, the GHP that generates the best available data on the human presence on the Earth by integrating the satellite imagery with the sensor data. It provides global insights into the built-up areas and population distribution to support the SDG and the disaster risk reduction. While global models effectively capture the regional urbanization trends, the significant structural gap persists. Moving from the global data to the regional impact require filling the missing the middle. The regional need shift from the general mapping to high resolution the Earth intelligence for mapping the mega cities, informality, and the disaster resilience. And at the different scale, from the sub-regional to the Pacific Island and the localized validation, we need to address different perspectives, how to further develop the GHP products and carry out the analysis with the other data source to carry out the different scale analysis. And in the future, I think at the sub-regional, the focal points, the action should focus on establish the sub-regional focal points for the GHP within the AOGO. These focal points would tailor products to the Pacific, the Southeast Asian, and the South Asian contexts respectively, ensuring the relevance and the usability. And for the localized indicators, we need to develop the specific human settlement indicators through the AOGO's the Pacific Island Integrated Priority Study, directly involving the local stakeholders and leveraging the GHP's settlement typologies. And for the validation activities, we need to align the GHP validation activities with existing AOGO, the in-situ observation networks, to ensure the product accuracy across all the AO settlement typologies, building the trust and enable the local uptake. So I think for the conclusions, I think the GHP is structurally indispensable to the AOGO, directly advancing our shared goals in urban resilience, climate action, and the SDGs. And as the operational foundation for our regional urban initiatives, the GHP's products and partnerships demonstrate a profound commitment to the long-term impact. And finally, by closing this gap together, we hope to transform the global Earth observations into the tangible local resilience and sustainable development. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally, for the final intervention from AmeriGeo, I'll pass to Ricardo.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Okay, let me see. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm gonna give you one idea of what's happening in the region. I don't want to go to the very technical details because maybe sometimes it's overwhelming when we go to the technical details. If I'm going to give you an example what Colombia is thinking through the geographic institution. We are having years and years of war at the conflict. What is the human face of the data? How can we change the territories? When imagine you have one country, one territory, but everyone has different map of this territory. Everyone has a different view. Everyone has a different conversation on the same territory. What is the solution? What is when we have that question in IGAC, our director is here, he called the pluriverse. We are biodiverse region. We have a lot of things, and that's why IGAC create this architecture to trying to keep in one table the same dialogue. Because this is not exactly about the technical issues. This is about the people, the human face of the data. How can the data can be used to integrate the people on the same territory? One voice. This is the challenge. We have, for example, over 1,000 municipalities, but 51 are specific living by Afro-descendants. We have to include them. They have their own view of the territory. They have their own culture. We have very biodiverse territory. We have different maps in everyone's mind. That's why the Geographic Institute, Colombia government, and GEO in general is trying to be inclusive through the data. Data is an instrument to build peace. This is not about the creating platforms or a lot of initiatives. This is how can we reconciliate the dialogue in the territory. That's why we have been the Earth Intelligence for the Peace Agreement. How can we provide enough data, put the data on the people's hands to understand the territory and understand other ones that inhabit the same territory? That's our idea. That's the human face of the GEO we think should be. How can we be very productive? How can we keep our architectural patrimony? How can we keep our culture alive? This is about the Earth Intelligence for indigenous communities who are in over 122 municipalities, over 100 different tribes. This is about how can we get together, and our institute is understanding that. That's why Colombia is not a data provider. We don't have satellites, but we have all this partnership with amount of data, amount of experts, amount of methodologies. That's why we are so passionate for GEO, because this is the way how can we are reconciliating. This is not exactly the technical issue. This is how can we construct the multiverse and maybe in order versus the chaos versus the violence. This is not exactly about technical issues. Human face of the human planet is how can we reconciliate the spirit of the human planet in Colombia is something like this. We're still having challenges. The standards, even the data has different, over 700 resources. But the main gap we have now is we have two users to bring on the table with their own understanding to build the human face of this GEO initiative. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ricardo. So I suggest we give all our speakers a round of applause. And we're going to switch now straight away to our panel discussion, which is going to have to be a bit shortened, but I'm sure that my panelists will play along with me. So I'm going to invite all the panelists up to the stage, and then we will have, I'll introduce them once they're here. And Haki, you can come as well, please. Yeah. So we have 3 questions that we were going to address with the panelists. I'm not sure, depending on how long they take with their answers, we may have to reduce asking it to all of them, but I'm going to start with the first one and try and ask it to all of them. So first of all, to introduce our panelists, we have my colleague Jean Doussard from the European Commission, who is the GEO focal point for the European Commission, and he works for the Directorate General for Research and Innovation. We have Tumisang Modiole, Director of Earth Observation from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation from the Republic of South Africa. We have Pang Yong, Deputy Director of the Institute of Forest Resource Information from the Chinese Academy of Forest and Ministry of Natural Resources in China. And then we have Ricardo, who was a speaker in our previous session, Ricardo Quiroga from the Istituto Geografico Agustin Cadazzi, and involved in AmeriGeo and GeoColombia. So the first question, so we've just heard, of course, a number of points of view from different EuroGeos on Geo-Human Planet contributions and contributors, about key applications areas, regional activities, even getting down to very local regional activities where the impact has been strongest, as well as where they see additional opportunities. And so I'd like to ask, from a policy and stakeholder perspective, how do we see Geo-Human Planet adding value to your regional GEOs priorities, and which policy needs do you see it supporting most effectively? And I'm going to start with Jean.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. So let's see our European perspective on the priorities, the added value that a Human Planet initiative can bring. We see that HPI can essentially provide policy relevant, high resolution data and analytical tools. Why do we need those tools, those data? Essentially to support 3 overarching key priorities of the Commission: urban development, disasters, resilience, and climate adaptation. Starting with urban development, we see a need in being able to map, for example, urban sprawl, land take, compact city development, understanding better the regional disparities between the different member states in the European Union, or to which extent the urban development encroach on existing natural habitats. For disaster resilience, of course, we are very interested, like other regions of the world, in better mapping exposure to disaster, possible vulnerabilities, improve risk assessment, and we adopt for that very overarching and key political instrument, the preparedness strategy last year. Last but not least, climate adaptation. Evangelos mentioned already the European Union missions, and our colleagues from the Directorate General on Climate Action are developing an integrated framework on the European climate resilience and risk management. And this will certainly, again, increase the needs for products and solutions derived from HPI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean. And now I'll pass on with the same question to Tumisang. Tumisang, so if you could give your perspectives on how GHP is adding value to your regional priorities, and which policies in particular you see needing support.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As I'm representing the regional GEO here, not national, I'm tempted to speak at a national level, but I will try my best to represent regional GEOs as I should. I think, as we all know, that in Africa we do have challenges in terms of human settlements generally, and where people live, especially at the local levels. So different countries or national countries will have their own different priorities and policies that they support. But I think at a regional level at this point, I would have to say that we would have to align to the Africa Agenda 2063, of which one of its flagship programs would be the African Space Strategy, which was developed and adopted in 2016. And with that, the establishment of the space strategy. I mean, with this strategy, some of the priority areas there include your disaster risk management, your climate change, which I think we should be aligning with. At a regional level within the continent, I don't think we have national activities that are aligned to what the GHP aspires, but we have not fully evolved into utilizing the products as we should. And but if we look at the agenda, Africa Agenda 2063 and the African Space Strategy, I think those are the policies that, as the region, it aligned to.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. And now I pass with the same question to Pang.
Thank you. I would also like share, definitely there be some good connections with LGEO and GHP, especially I think for the characteristics for the GHP products, and also for the evaluation indicators. I mean, from the concepts, and also for how to use the remote sensing data to generate these different layers. It helps a lot. But there are still some challenges, also some differences, because in LGEO, we focus on the three integrated priority areas, especially for Mekong region, for the Pacific Island, and also for the Himalaya regions. So for these regions, they are shared some different perspectives for the sustainable development. For example, for the Mekong region, they still undergoing the rapid urbanization. The Pacific Islands, there is more evidence for the climate-related displacement, and for Himalayas, especially for its unit settlement patterns. So for I think this brings some linkage, also some difference. We need to think how to link the GHPs with the LGEO specific needs. So to do so, I think maybe especially we need to consideration for the challenges, especially for the tropical and subtropical areas and mountainous areas, and also for the very fragmented areas for the settlements, and to improve the product and to make the linkages adapted better. Thank you.
Thank you, Pang. And then finally, I pass to Ricardo with the same question.
Yeah, thank you. I think the first challenge we have is the concepts on the Earth intelligence, because the main gap we have here is to run the last mile between data, regional data, beautiful stuff. We have many data coming, predictive models. We have more radar data as an ISAR mission. But we started by changing a little bit the concept of Earth intelligence. We start calling territorial intelligence to make the people on the ground, to make the concept more understandable. Second, using AI tools, and because we have a lot of data, we thought that we don't have data for local level, but now as IGAC have, or many countries has a lot of GEO databases. But the main question is how can pull the data, how can the normal citizen can pull the data and bring a report on policies, how can start discussing policies, different variables, since land use, land conflicts, degradation, forest degradation, desertification, whatever, water availability, but how can we put the food on the ground? We started with that concept, which means science, technology, community, and policy. If not, one of those parts is missing, it's not air intelligence for us. That's why we call territorial intelligence. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. And now the second question, I'd like to focus on this. We may not spend as much time on the third one, perhaps due to time, but I think you understood from Michele's introductory presentation that the Global Human Planet has the intention or ambition, let's say, of perhaps proposing itself as a flagship in 2027. So I think they're looking for feedback at the moment, in particular from the regional GEOs on what you see as your requirements to ensure that that transition to a flagship is effective, basically the R2O evolution, and what you would see as the added benefits of it possibly being a flagship within GEO. So I'll pass to Jean first.
Thank you, Mark. Well, on progressing HPI along the R2O pipeline, I see certainly a lot of opportunities, but there are as well some remaining challenge that needs to be addressed. Starting with opportunities from the European perspective, certainly this would help strengthening the operational Earth intelligence for policy and industry. So moving from data to decision making. And I see that, for example, that would be interesting to look at near real, to be able to deliver a product solution on a near real-time urban growth monitoring, dynamic exposure mapping to hazards. I see as well opportunities for the commercial sector, for the industry, by being able to provide API, making the HPI products accessible to commercial companies to build more specific, more specialized applications. Important as well that the HPI products align well with our priorities by profiling themselves as a human-centric Earth observation layer, which is often missing in many data infrastructure. Technology and scientific advancement, we see an opportunity as well, for example, to use AI technologies to be able to map informal settlements, slums. We see opportunities in making use of the next generation of the Copernicus satellites or the contributing mission. Opportunities as well in transitioning from projects to permanent operational entities. But all this, of course, comes with a number of challenges that have to be addressed before addressing the issue of fragmented funding, the issue of do we want to provide everything as open data, or do we want to consider as well important aspect of cost recovery. We should not neglect the issue of data quality, validation, standardization, using, for example, enough and good quality in situ data or statistics. Interoperability will be a key issue because we are mixing and fusing many different data sources. And again, a good governance and a good coordination of the activities will certainly bring a lot of benefits.
Thank you very much, Jean, for that. Tumi-san, yeah, Tumi-san, over to you.
Thank you very much. As I said, at the regional GEO for us, I think this would create an opportunity for us to localize capacity to localize the products. Access to these products, I think, would help. And also the opportunity for us to be able to co-create, co-develop, and co-produce with other partners. And this would mean that creating those partners and collaborating also at a regional level to ensure that we are able to respond to the challenges that we have at our own national and local levels. I think it would also improve our local decision making and provide policy responses that we need to be responding to at both national, local, and regional levels.
Thank you very much, Tumisang. Pang, your opinions on this?
Yeah, I think it would be great if you can move forward for the GHP to flagship, but I think to do so, to make this step, we need to make several products really can empower for the real operations to make more closely linkages with the policy or real management activities. So in fact, in this morning's town hall meeting, Jen also mentioned to use AI empowered for the building height or building mapping. I mean, nowadays there are more and more higher spatial resolution data available. In EU, you already have the CEMS. But for the global perspective, it's not that ready available. I mean, also as I mentioned that we can use this, adapt some of localized AI models. I mean, to improve this and make these several real products can be applied to the policy or to the real operational application purpose. This is some of demonstration, but it really make changes. Really can help for the administration purpose. Then we think if we can find several of these examples or demonstrations, it will help us a lot. Then we also can move then to find to get more something big, something more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pang. And then finally to Ricardo.
Yeah, thank you again. Yes, we celebrate that we have open data, access to data, but really worry or concerned about we don't have free tools. We don't have free AI. We don't have the tools are highly cost, so expensive, and we have that problem now because many AI platforms ingest all the free open data, access data, radar data, demographic data, everything. But they put on the people's hand on the high cost. I think this is the moment when we have to start thinking and renegotiate those kind of agreements because in other ways, money is the key factor again for the access to the tools. We say human planet for the people in the people's hands, but at what cost? What about other countries? What about people? I think we have to find ways to put on the people's, for example, access for 10, 15 years with one cost for open data, something like that. I think we have to think at the side of the policymakers on these kind of things because we are creating a trap. People put the data, the processing data as highly cost, and if you have, for example, credits in one of those platforms, and at the end of the day, you start billing at high cost. I think that's one key factor to open the access, open the tools, and open the processing data. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. So we had a third question, but we're not going to have time to address it. But to be honest, when I look at it, many of the topics on basically what are the key priorities, what are key research efforts needed, I think we've addressed some of this anyway in the other questions. So before we close, I'd like to also give the floor to Haki Erdogan, who is here on the stage representing the GEO Secretariat. Haki is the GEO regional officer, regional liaison officer, sorry. And Haki, if you could give your perspectives on the discussions you've heard in this session, that would be appreciated.
Thank you very much, Mark. Yes, as you mentioned that I'm the regional geo liaison officer at the of the Geo Secretariat at the member services unit. Well, I just start serving almost around 3 months ago, so I'm still learning a lot from the geo community. But already one thing is very clear for me, that is the regional geos have a very important role in making the geo more operational and more connected to real needs on the ground. And actually today all the presentation about the geo-human planet and also the discussion were very good, the evidence on that, and they were clearly show that the impact only happen when the global capabilities are translated into the regional and local actions. So I actually wants to give the picture to you about the GEO work program. It's really the main way to deliver the Earth intelligence for all. And today we have 49 activities. And all working to achieve the goal of the GEO post 2025 strategy. However, when we look at regional engagement across the GEO work program, this is still limited. So within this picture, the question actually what we have now is that the more than how the GEO work programs activities should work with the regions. So we are more focusing that how we can do it much more in better and more systematic way. So for that, actually, I would like to highlight the four key points very shortly. The first, that is, we are thinking that the regional GEOs have to be involved earlier stage, much more than not only at the implementation stage, because they also should help the shape the priorities, they identify user needs, and they have to guide the design of services from the beginning. So because they know the local needs, they know the policy environment, they know all the operational gaps. The second important point is that the regional GEOs can help connect the different activities together. So at the region like the climate change, food security, disaster, biodiversity, they are all linked. And actually, in many regions, they don't need isolated projects, so they need more integrated approach. So in this sense, the regional GEOs really can help to align our activities, partners, stakeholders, and also they can reduce the duplications. So the third point, that we need to move from outreach to co-creation or co-design, so that which we heard quite a lot during all today. So means that we have to ensure the engagement of local actors, youths, indigenous people in some regions, governments, technical communities, all should help to shape the solution together. And finally, it's a practical side. I mean, the regional GEOs can help connect all the GEO activities with regional priorities and existing investment opportunities in line with the regional and national political frameworks. This is very important to sustain long-term sustainability and ownership. So overall, I think the regional GEOs should not only be seen as a kind of dissemination platform or dissemination channel, but they are also important implementation partner. So at the GEO Secretariat, we work to connect regional GEOs and GEO work program activities more closely. And specifically from the last year, we worked to create a better coordination amongst these 4 regional GEO. And also we are promoting a regular reporting mechanism from the regional GEOs to program boards. about their engagement of the GEO initiatives. And finally, we are really providing close support and advice to all the regional GEOs when they are organizing some activities or the events in order to strengthen the collaboration amongst them and enable to implementation throughout all regional partners and stakeholders. So in the end, I can say that is on behalf of the Secretariat, we are strongly believe that when we are strengthening the collaboration between Secretariats, regional GEOs, and all the GEO activities, leads really what we want the GEO deliver real impact on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Haki, for that. And I think at least your checklist in some of the talks we had at the beginning of this session, I could see at least a couple of those points were addressed. So I'm convinced that while there's still road to travel, we're already making good progress. So anyway, a big round of applause, please, for my panelists. And thanks to all of you for attending this, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you.